that video. Right here, these are the cameras. Remember, 2 of the officers' cameras came off. So these are views from those cameras laying on the floor. One of Claybo's statements was that at one point he looked to his right and saw that Anthony Thompson had the gun pointed straight at his lieutenant, and that's when he shot. And so here is a picture from that body cam footage on the floor that shows the gun in Anthony Thompson's pocket pointed straight at Lieutenant Cash. Okay. Next. This right here is Anthony Thompson's gun in that pocket. This is right when he is shot. The shot from Claybo hits him. At that point, he's canting and turning, and his gun comes out of his pocket into the stall. So all the officers are over here, and so I believe it's reasonable to believe that they determined in their minds that he still had the gun, because the gun falls out back here into the stall. Go hit the next one. I think we see it falling. They're all over here, but the gun does come out into the stall again. Oh, I thought we had another one all the way down on the floor. Oh, we do in a minute. So those are even. We've slowed it down, plus we've looked at still shots from it. We've looked at it in real time. And we have another glitch. This is other physical evidence that we have to consider in making that determination. Wow. Okay. This is the jacket that you'll recognize that Anthony Thompson had on that day. This obviously is the back and front of this jacket. You'll notice that it has a cut all the way up it. The reason it has a cut is because when the school nurse came in and began working on him, she immediately cut it off. So the school nurse cut that off. Can I get that bigger? If we can't. Back of jacket, front of jacket. That's the cut. This is the entry into where the bullet entered into Anthony Thompson through his clothing. Keep going. You have measurements and bigger pictures of that. Keep going. Keep going. Next. This is, I told you that we would look at the bullet hole where to determine whether the gun was actually in Anthony Thompson's pocket that actually fired. This is the bullet hole where the gun that he had in his pocket, that's where the bullet exited when it came out, went between the stall door and Baldwin and hit the trash can. So that's where it came out of his pocket. Next, just closer up, some measurements of that same bullet hole. Next. Next. This is a trash can. At this point, the trash can has been drug out into the hallway because I think on one of those videos you could see when Officer Wilson had been hit, Officer Baldwin came back in to drag Officer Wilson out into the hallway, and as he did, he was throwing the trash can out behind him. So the trash can, by the time we take evidence photos, is sitting out in the hallway, and that's because it got kicked out of the way. But here is the bullet hole where Anthony Thompson's bullet went into the trash can. Next, went into the trash can. This is where it came out. It went through the side, out the bottom, and I have a trajectory rod photo showing this is where the bullet entered, this is where it went through and came out. Next. This is the photo. Remember, we saw the gun falling out of his pocket as he was shot and fell this way. When the gun fell out of the pocket, it fell here, back into the stall, kind of under this. Next. Next. Up close. This is back. This is the gun laying on the floor. This is laying next to it. This has snapped off of it. What this is an extra grip handle that fits here. It makes your grip bigger. It's like a grip addition that fits onto that gun that's popped off. Okay, next. This is the backpack that he had on him when he was shot. You'll notice that here there's an Air Jordan, what I call fanny pack, inside his backpack. Next. Here's a picture of the fanny pack. Next. These are the contents of that fanny pack. This is another extended magazine that was in his backpack that was fully loaded. Next. Okay, now we get to the reports. This is the first. You have 2 firearms reports. Helps us determine who shot where. Just because I'm telling you who shot where, we've got the forensic proof as to who shot where. That's what these are. Firearms report. This is the first. Next. What this report does is it really is analyzing Claybo's gun. Claybo had a Sig Sauer, and Anthony Thompson had a Glock. This tells us that the bullets, exhibits 1A and 1-2, the bullets removed from Anthony Thompson and also removed from Adam Wilson belong to this gun, 5A. So they belong to this 45 cal Sig Sauer, which was Officer Claybo's. That's how we know that Officer Claybo fired the bullets that went into both Anthony Thompson and Adam Wilson, the forensic proof. We also found 2 cartridges that were there as well. Both of those cartridges were tested. They both came back to Officer Claybo's gun. So we have both cartridges and bullets matching Claybo's exact gun. Next. This is the next firearms report. Same thing, but this one is doing an analysis based upon Anthony Thompson's Glock. Okay. It tells us that he had a 9mm Glock, and that there was a bullet jacket that was found, and that bullet jacket is basically the outside casing of the bullet. The bullet had gone through the trash can and into the floor and kind of disintegrated. The jacket was the casing for the bullet. That bullet jacket was tested to see which gun it came from. This forensic test tells us that bullet jacket came from the gun, the Glock, the 9mm Glock that Anthony Thompson had. So we know he fired that shot, and we know that he fired the shot that went into the trash can. Next, DNA report. We did DNA swabs of the pistol, the back strap, the top and bottom of the mag, and the cartridges. When we swabbed basically the gun, we swabbed the gun and the ammunition to see if we could get DNA to see who all had touched the gun. Next, you will see that what was found. Next, I have one more pull out. Yeah. There was a mixture of DNA in some places of 4 individuals, some places of 3 individuals, some places of 2 individuals, and that's at least 4, 3, and 2. It could have been more. But DNA, once it is mixed and put into a mixture, there is no way to separate DNA out to where you can take an individual standard and test against it. So we know that the gun had different people have touched the gun. There was a combination of DNA, but we will never be able to take anybody's standard and test it against that mixture because you can't separate the mixture. So basically the DNA test is inconclusive. Next. This is the autopsy. The autopsy is important for a lot of reasons. One of the main reasons that the autopsy is important to me is that not only did we look at these officers to see if we should have charged Officer Claybo with a murder, but Anthony Thompson was in the bathroom for 4.5 minutes, right at 4.5 minutes, from the time he was shot until the time the school nurse entered the bathroom. So we looked at all of the officers to see if there was any kind of neglect or failure to render aid, any kind of thing that those officers did in that 4.5 minutes where aid was not immediately rendered to Anthony Thompson laying on the floor to see if there were charges we could levy there. And in doing that, we spoke with the medical examiner based upon this autopsy. You will see in his autopsy that basically the bullet we know entered here from the jacket. It traveled through his body. It basically went through both lungs and went through the bottom of his heart. The medical examiner, Dr. Malusnik, has explained to us that this was a devastating, non-recoverable, life-ending injury. There is no way that he could have recovered from this particular injury, no matter what aid was rendered, no matter how quickly that aid was rendered. So there's nothing that anybody did past the time of him being shot that in any way contributed to his death. So there will be no charges against any of the 4 officers. We looked at charges against all of them, really, not so much Officer Wilson and that he's out in the hall shot, but the other 3 to make sure that there wasn't something that they didn't do properly after he was shot, to make sure that he was cared for properly. But